What's going on, guys? Welcome to January's episode of Plus Club, the show where we play the games offered on PlayStation Plus throughout the month, and at the end of the month, we talk about it like a book club. My name's Seth, and joining me today is Chevy, of course. Chevy, we just filmed our TLG Reacts for the State of Play for January 31st. We had a lot to say about, especially that ending, so hopefully everybody has a chance to go check that out and join the conversation there. But since then, how you doing, and are you ready to talk about the games we played in January, which were Evil West, Plague Tale Requiem, and Nobody Saves the World?
Looking forward to
getting this over with.
Not quite, but expressing opinions on the games, but also moving into the next month because I have some curiosity for one of the games there.
Yeah, same.
But otherwise, I'm doing all right.
Good. I'm also doing good. I am ready to talk about these games, especially because I have some pretty different opinions on all these games. So sometimes, different months will be giving everything like a B or something, but this month might be a little different. So stay tuned. We'll talk about it. And I'm also excited to talk about and play most of the games we'll be playing in February because I think it's an interesting lineup. So with that said, let's talk about those games. Those games are Foam Stars, Rollerdrome, and Steel Rising. Worth noting, Foam Stars is releasing day one on PlayStation Plus, so that'll be interesting. Rollerdrome, if you guys don't know, is that rollerblading indie game where you shoot people. So I always thought that looked kind of interesting, but not interesting enough for me to pick up. So perfect for PlayStation Plus. And then Steel Rising is also a game that I have wanted to try, but not enough to spend my money or time to prioritize. If you don't remember, Steel Rising is made by, I believe, the same people who made, oh god, I forgot the name of the game, but Spiders is the developer that makes it. And this one looked pretty cool. It's kind of like a Souls-like type game, so if I remember correctly. So, and then Foam Stars is a Splatoon like. So
That's there ain't much way of getting around that.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the game for a second, so I was like, wait, what's that game? It's basically so. For me personally, I think this is a really interesting lineup because there's two games there that I was already interested in, but not super interested in. So this is like the perfect situation for me when it comes to PlayStation Plus, when they give me these like mid-tier games that I don't go out of my way to play. And then Foam Stars I had a loose interest in anyway. I'm hoping it's good, but I have no expectations for it. And so this month will be a rare one for me where all three games are games I don't own, so that's always interesting, but also I have a loose interest in all of them, so very cool. What do you think?
I mean, I have a pretty similar opinion. The biggest thing, I'm worried about, or not worried about, but I'm concerned about with like Foam Stars, because I do think it is good for someone else to make their take on that game, to get it off of just being just a Nintendo game. But the trailer we watched mentioned Season 1, which is a nice way of basically saying we already have a plan to monetize this seasonally.
Which I expected,
and
but yeah.
Square's track record with that style of monetization is not good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing about this game that kind of worries me is that Square's even involved with it, because as much as I love a lot of the things that they do, there's other things they don't do well. And one of them is like online multiplayer games, especially ones that they want people to stick around and play for a while. And then, they're weird like Quiet Man style games, but they knock out their AAA JRPGs out of the park. So,
Yeah. So, but hopefully it's good, because I do think it would be a good thing for that type of game to be on other platforms. So.
Yeah.
And the other two, I'm just, I don't know enough about them.
At a loss.
And that is probably a good thing, because I wouldn't have played them otherwise. So.
Yeah, Rollerdrome looks interesting because every time I've seen gameplay of it, you're like in like a skate park basically, but it's like an arena, and you're on rollerblades or roller skates, one of the two, and you have a pistol, and there's other people rollerblading around, and you're shooting them, and I'm just like, that's definitely not a AAA idea, but it's an interesting idea. So I'm kind of curious if it doesn't play well. Obviously, that will be a make or break for it, but if it plays well, the concept alone I think could be cool. So yeah. Anything else you want to say on that?
Nada.
All right, let us know in the comments what you guys think about the February lineup. We'll be playing them soon anyway, so next week, Tuesday. So, yeah, let us know what you think about it. All right, so the 3 games we played in January were Evil West, Plague Tale, Requiem, and Nobody Saves the World. We should probably start with Nobody Saves the World. If you didn't get a chance to play Nobody Saves the World, it is a top-down, up to 2-player cooperative dungeon crawling action hack and slash style game where you play as somebody named Nobody who is saving the world with a wand that they found that allows them to turn into different things, from a horse to a rat to a knight to an archer. There's all sorts of shit that you can turn into. And different places you can go to based off of what you've turned into. Like the rat can go through small holes. There's certain areas people won't let you go unless you turn into a certain person. And then has an interesting progression system where you have to reach certain accolades with certain characters. And once you've done that, you get rewarded with XP and skill points that you can place anywhere on anything at any time. And we both played it. And how about you tell me your impression of Nobody Saves the World in January?
Okay. Well, my first impression, upon looking at it and just like learning the game initially, I immediately felt like it was a game that was outside of its era. I don't know how else to word that, but it reminds me of stuff like Battle Block Theater and oh God, what's the other one? It doesn't matter. It just feels like it's like 5 or 6 years. Like
what's that something Crashers from back in the day where you play Castle Crashers? Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, and so like it feels like it's in the wrong era.
Like 360 era indie game.
And not to say that kind of game can't like exist or anything like that, but it was just like it was weird because that was my first impression. Obviously, now playing the game, I do think the game is fun to play, and I do think they have some pretty interesting ideas. And for what it is, I was having an enjoyable time with it. I like that progression is basically based off of completing these little like quests that pop up in your character sheet, and it kind of like incentivizes you to like try and play all the different like forms that you unlock and stuff like that. And you have a tree to go down to unlock more forms and stuff like that, which I like because it gives you at the very least the perception of choice. I'm sure at some point you just have everything, but also force you out of your comfort zone. Like I am definitely the type of person where I find like a class I like in a game, and that's what I'm doing.
I did that in this game. I was just playing the knight constantly because he had the most health and he could kill people pretty well.
Right, big. And we'll get into it a little more here in this moment. But like when we played multiplayer, the dungeon that we did incentivized switching as well because you could not damage people with physical damage. It was dark only or physical only, etc. So
it does want you switching, and even with exploration, it wants you to switch around. So
and I think it's a neat idea. I do think there's a fine line between like a good idea and obnoxious. I don't feel like it hit obnoxious, but
it's almost there, but it's not. I don't think it's like, I think it's a good idea, and I think I enjoyed playing the game, but I don't like you have to hold R1 and then use a stick to select a dude on the fly in combat. I wish there was a faster system, and that might sound like all you gotta do is hold the button and select something. It feels kind of off when it comes to the flow, especially when you're in the middle of something. You gotta switch over because there's a new enemy type to just. And I'm sure if you do it enough, it just becomes muscle memory. But it just felt kind of clunky. I would have rather like some button you can just hit or whatever, and you could swap or switch between stuff quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It feels a little clunky. I think even the same exact system, if they would just smooth it out a little bit, would still even feel better. I just don't think it feels good to switch with the way they have it implemented. So
this is a really weird example, but it reminds me back in the day of like when the original Crisis came out, and you had all these abilities, but you only have one equipped at a time, and you had to like stop and switch to the next ability. And like nowadays, like there's just much more streamlined ways to do abilities. This kind of felt like that, where it's like you got to switch characters often, but you have to like in the middle of combat hold R1 or whatever and then select a dude, and it's just that millisecond just feels a little clunky.
Well, even like Monster Hunter uses radial wheels too. Radial wheels. as well, and I feel like they're snappy and responsive. So
Yeah, and there's games where like you can either press a button to go through your equipment, like triangle or whatever, but then you can also hold a button and then go through a wheel or whatever and select, and that kind of thing I like. I'm not opposed to using a wheel to select things, just in this game in particular, because it's a core concept of how you play it.
Yeah.
You have to switch around and shit. It feels just, it's not that big a deal, but it's just like a slight, if I had one major complaint outside of one I want to talk about, but we'll get there, it would be that. Other than that, though, I thought that though simple, it was kind of a fun little like hack and slash game.
Oh, for sure. And I don't think it's gonna be hard to like go too into it because I don't think it's that deep of a game. But,
No, it's literally called Nobody Saves the World, and your character's name is Nobody.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on the wheel part could feel better. And then if I had another comment on the game, I think the game feels better single player than it does multiplayer, and not even for the reasons.
Sad.
I think that you're going to bring up when you talk, but just in general, I think the flow of the game feels better as a single player game than it does a multiplayer game. So, which is weird. I'm not like opposed to playing a single player or multiplayer game, but typically, especially in a game that has multiplayer built in the way that they do, feels fun to play, and I kind of wasn't digging it too much. So, but yeah, overall, it was a fun enough time. I could see myself, playing it from time to time, but realistically, with the amount of games I play, it probably won't happen. But I did not hate my time with it. So,
yeah, I enjoyed it. I was playing it single player for a while there, and I was the whole time playing it, going like, oh shit, this has multiplayer. This has multiplayer. I really want to try multiplayer because I feel like it'd be a really good game for multiplayer. Because I was just enjoying myself. It's very simple but straightforward game with just enough things about it that makes it interesting enough to keep playing. Like, when you complete your little missions for every individual guy you have, and you get this slight progression, and it feels like it's branching between these different characters. It's fun because outside of just running around, finding currencies and stuff to buy stuff. I think, right? There's a guy you can buy stuff from, right? Store guy in town. Anyway,
I didn't really talk to too many NPCs outside of the first area. The second area, I ran around with you, and we just kind of went to dungeons like immediately.
Yeah, because that's how you progress and unlock other people, stuff like that. But anyway, that's all fun enough. But I forgot what I was even talking about. It's simple, but it's fun. It's got little systems that makes it interesting, so it's not just like a hack and slash game. But yeah, we ended up playing multiplayer because I was waiting to do that, and for the most part, I liked it. It was worse for me than single player, just because of a latency issue we ran into that I could easily just maybe blame on like our router or something might have had an issue. But this is one of the only games I've ever played in my life that in the options has a latency slider. I can't think of a game. Let me know in the comments if you know of a game that has a slider for latency, which means that when they put this game out, they were expecting some kind of latency for you to have to see what you prioritize the most. So the slider allows you to either turn down the smoothness of gameplay, which makes the game pause. So you'll be playing and it pauses and pauses, and you'll be running, it'll pause because it's like loading something, I don't know. But if you slide it all the way up, it smooths out the gameplay, so you get less pauses, but you notice that everything you're doing on the buttons or the reactivity of what you're pressing is off by like
input delay.
Yeah, that's the word. It's all lagging when you're playing. Now, the gameplay you guys are watching might not look very impressive, like we're not playing well. It's because there's delay to the buttons we're pressing. It looks smooth what you're seeing, but what we're doing on the screen is not when we're pressing the button. So that was a really weird thing. I had to like pull the slider down to like 75% to keep it less laggy feeling, but also we would still get stutters every once in a while, and that was really weird. Again, it could just be our end, but that there's even that slider that affected it that much was really weird. It's like they know the game is going to have latency, and so they're trying to help you find a way to mitigate it. And I feel like there's probably a better way to have done that. I don't know if the game has same screen co-op. I feel like it probably does because it seems like a setup for that. I think that would probably be the way to play co-op. But our co-op experience was very not optimal. I would like to play this game again, and I would like to play it with somebody again, but not that way. I don't want to play that again because it just didn't feel fun. I felt like I was struggling to play the game. So anyway, that was why multiplayer wasn't as fun for me. Otherwise, I feel like it would be a lot of fun with a friend. But that was a pretty big problem. So that'll definitely affect my grade in a way, which kind of sucks because I did like this game. And single player, it's not a thing. So it's whatever. But yeah, simple game, fun game. Multiplayer was disappointing. Maybe if it has same screen, which let me know in the comments if you know, would be a better option because I doubt there would be latency there. But yeah, I could see myself. I think I had humored maybe picking this up on PC and playing it there or something. But I would play it again. I've uninstalled it from my PS5 because I would like to play multiplayer and I'm not going to be able to do it on there. So for whatever reason. So, but yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty cool. Just a weird, disappointing issue. Anything else you want to say on it? Got any recommendations?
Well, if you're a fan of that old school era of like Xbox Live Arcade, which is going to be a weird one for PlayStation Plus, but I assume a lot of people have played multiple consoles, or even games like Battle Block Theater and stuff like that. Even if it's going to be weird, like Binding of Isaac has like a vibe as well that this game kind of I think falls into a little bit. If you like that kind of style, like the main character is like kind of creepy looking. The forms are very like derpy and stuff like that. The humor is definitely of that era as well. But yeah, if you're into that, or if you're into games that are similar to like Super Nintendo or original Nintendo era, like Zelda games, where you have its top down like action game.
Yep, that's a good one.
If you like having to switch forms in games to do traversal and or combat, and if you are okay with the multiplayer the way it works, if you're into multiplayer co-op games. So
yeah, I don't know if I can add a whole lot to that. Pretty much nailed it. So like top down games, hack and slash games, action games that are old school, those old 360 indie games. If your co-op works fine, co-op games. Otherwise, if you have the experience we have, I don't recommend it for you. Like, don't even fucking worry about it. Quirky games. I think you said something like that, but yeah. Other than that, I think you nailed it. All right, let's jump into grades. You did your impressions first, right?
I did.
Okay, so I'm going to give this... I really want to give it like a B- or a B, but I'm going to give it a C+ just because that multiplayer was really, really disappointing. It was basically unplayable for me, and that's really what I wanted to do. But the game itself, the single player is fun. The single player is easily like a B for me. It's simple, it's fun, it's not amazing, but it's not boring. But yeah, I have to lower it just because the multiplayer is unplayable. In our situation, and that really sucks. So strong C+. I really want to give it a B, but I have to go low because that was just like, if something's unplayable, I don't know what to do at that point. Like grade wise, I can't fluff talk that or anyway.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that the single player experience is like a solid B+.
Yeah,
it's fun. The multiplayer experience that we had, I would say is D-.
Yeah,
it worked barely.
Yeah, it works. It's not broken technically.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll probably give it a B-. I think I was also kind of thinking C, but like I enjoyed it enough, and I do think as a single player game, it is a fun game. I think that a lot of people could enjoy. So
yeah,
B-.
I agree with that. Yeah, I feel terrible giving it a C. I don't think it deserves it, but like just how bad that latency was, I'm like, I can't give that a B. So it's rough. I'm like balancing between, like you said, a D- and a B range grade because the single player, I'm gonna reemphasize, single player is absolutely B range. So play it, but if you have the multiplayer experience we had, it's getting lucky getting a C plus, because that experience was absolutely D to F. So yeah. Anything else? All right, let us know in the comments, what do you guys think about Nobody Saves the World? Did you play it? Did you not play it? If you didn't play it, why didn't you play it? And if you played it, what did you like about it? Did you play it multiplayer? Do you know a secret we don't on how to make that work better? Please tell me. And yeah, tell me everything you think about when it comes to that game. Next game we played this month was Evil West. If you didn't get a chance to play Evil West, it is a third-person, up to 2-player co-op shooter / brawler. Where you play as a dude, I don't remember his name, cowboy, part of a group of people who hunt down vampires in a Wild West setting. The game's basically, you run into arenas. It's like a campaign with a story and stuff like that, but basically you just run down pathways looking for things and eventually get into open rooms where you have to brawl your way through it. It has a pretty interesting hybrid of melee combat meets ranged gun combat and magic abilities, all mixed in one, which almost feels like a hybrid of a third-person shooter and God of War, just not done as well as God of War. And yeah, you play through, you get upgrades to your perks and your weapons. So there's progression. The co-op is interesting because you were able to spend your points the way you wanted to, but I think it's only in my game that it was set up like that.
Yeah, I think it just let me start with my character. No, maybe it was just a blank slate. I can't remember how I started, but yeah, I was able to put points in my character. That's the important part. So
yeah. But it's got kind of a weird co-op system, especially because you just like play the exact same character, just doubled up, which I would prefer over not having co-op at all. But it's definitely weird seeing that. And yeah, there's boss fights with like loose mechanics, and yeah, we both played it. I'll jump into my impressions of it. So I bought this game when it came out because it looked kind of interesting. I played it barely. I barely touched it because I was waiting to play it co-op with somebody, but that just never happened. I ended up playing something else. So I was pretty excited to play the game this month on PlayStation Plus because I knew I'd get a chance to play the co-op. And overall, I feel really mixed on this game because there's things about it I really like and things about it I really don't like. The combat is really interesting because you do a lot of punching, uppercuts, and you punch people into things around the arenas, like spike traps. You can punch them off cliffs, while also firing from your hip a revolver at any time you want. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but you can get some shots in. Or if you hold down the left trigger, you can aim your like Winchester rifle and shoot from a distance. And so you get this really interesting mix of just like punching people and pulling your gun out and shooting that I wasn't expecting from a game that basically just kind of looks like a third-person shooter. It's really not. It's way closer to Godfall too, but God of War than it is like it's like a Remnant 2 or something. It's not in the same ballpark as like another third-person shooter. Especially later, you get like electricity moves and stuff, and teleportation moves where you're like teleporting across the map and punching people and electrocuting people with your punches. It's really interesting. The game has some issues for me personally, though. The story, though interesting setting wise, and that they even decided to make a game like this, I don't think it's told very well. I don't think the story's told very well. I don't think the characters are very compelling. In fact, every time we watch the cinematic, and there's a lot of them, I never thought there was funny humor. Sometimes I don't even think they're attempting humor, but they're saying really ridiculous shit. There's no charm to the characters. The main character, I can't even tell you like what kind of character he is. Like he was just so like, just sound like a dude just reading a script.
It's a simple guy who likes to punch monsters.
Yeah, and it was weird because like in some of the cinematics, there's like some really dark and creepy stuff going on and some interesting themes and stuff, but it's like somebody wrote an interesting outline for a story and then somebody else got it handed to them and didn't do a good job on portraying it in the game. That's what it kind of feels like to me because I kind of like the idea of like vampires in the Wild West. So yeah, that felt kind of off, so I wasn't really compelled by the story. The gameplay, even though I do appreciate it, does have some exploration where you're like looking for chests and finding currency to upgrade your stuff. It does kind of feel like you're running down glorified hallways with like a hallway that goes to the right. You know, you're in a canyon, but it's like canyon hallways. You're in a cave, but it's like cave hallways. And then eventually you get to a big open room and you know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have to fight a bunch of people. And then you kill them all, and then you go on down the next hallways until you get to the next big room. And then you get to an extra big room, and there's a boss there. And the boss, there was one type of dude we fought like 2 or 3 times as a boss. It was like a repetitive thing, where it's like this bat dude who would like spin in the air, and you have to like shoot certain things when it highlighted it for you. So that got really repetitive. But yeah, combat was sometimes fun. Like I said, I like the hybrid of like punching, teleporting around, using abilities, and also shooting. I think if a more competent dev maybe got their hands on it, it would be a smoother experience. It feels kind of slow and clunky in this, but I still appreciate that they did it. One of the big problems, though, is it feels like once you hit a button, you're committed to the movement. And so sometimes it feels like you're either punching past people or you're getting hit because you're already punching into something. It just feels kind of sloppy in the way it's executed, especially during boss battles, especially in co-op, because the AI, I don't think, is very smart when it comes to differentiating enemies. We also ran into some issues. You got kicked once or twice.
Yeah, it's hard to say if that's us or not, though. So,
yeah,
but
there was no latency slider though in this game.
Yeah, I was having rubber banding issues and stuff. So
yeah, but yeah, and on my end it was fine, except for one time I saw you kind of teleporting around. But other than that, on my end it was smooth. So, but I know you got kicked out of the game a couple times and you had some lagging issues. But yeah, again, no latency slider, so I don't think they were expecting it. Yeah, overall though, there's something specific. When we felt like the mole dude, that fight felt really annoying.
okay. Yeah.
Their idea of difficulty is just throwing a lot of different types of things at you at once. And in another game, like God of War, I think they do a really good job on balancing fighting much people. That's obviously a different caliber of team though that made that game. This game just throws a lot of shit at you. There's like a lot of like normal enemy types. There's like mid boss type dudes, like 2 of them at a time coming at you. Well, there's a bunch of like flying dudes flying all over the place shooting at you. And eventually you get to the point where you're like, okay, prioritize the flying guys, get rid of them first, and then kill all the like little guys, then kill the bosses. But that just starts feeling formulaic, and it starts feeling just kind of really, the fun factor is not there anymore. It just feels like it's really repetitive and kind of annoying. So that was another thing that kind of bothered me with the game, even though I thought the combat was kind of cool. I never was excited to get into combat, which kind of sucks because that's the game. The game is like slight puzzles as well, but they're all pretty easy to figure out because like it's basically like there's a chain you got to shoot somewhere. And so the game has a really snappy auto aim to even things like you got to shoot in the environment. So you can figure things out pretty quickly by just aiming and looking in directions. So yeah, overall the game was fine, but a little disappointing in a lot of ways, a little clunky in a lot of ways. And I really would hope for maybe an Evil West 2 where it becomes more refined and they really think about what worked and what didn't work and make it into a better game, because I think there's a lot of potential here. I still don't think they nailed it. I think they missed the mark a little bit, but not too bad. I didn't hate playing it, but I don't know if I'm going to come back and play it. So, because it just wasn't compelling enough for me. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
I mean, honestly, mine's probably gonna be kind of short because I pretty much agree with everything you've said about like the game itself, functionally and thematically. You know, the combat feeling a little clunky, you being animation locked, the bosses.
I'm glad you're on top of these words because yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Being a little spongy / instantly repetitive. And
this one boss took forever to kill.
Reuse models is fine, but like within the span of like one mission is a little weird. The characters are like so whatever. And the story, like, I couldn't tell you. Just, like, I was just so checked out for it. So, I'm just gonna start with saying the game, like, plays fine. There's, like, obviously some nitpicking that can be said, but the game plays fine. And if you're into the themes of it and stuff like that, I think there's a decent game there. On a personal level, I pretty much hate everything about this game. So I think the theme is just not interesting. The characters are not interesting. I think the combat could be interesting, except for I found myself literally strafing to the left while holding the revolver and winning 99% of the fights.
It'll take a while, but yeah, you'll get through it.
And like you said, difficulty is just throw everything at them, to the point where one of the fights we did, I would shoot twice, dodge, shoot twice, dodge, shoot twice, dodge. Like, and that was the whole fight. And I was like, oh my God, this is obnoxious. So,
yeah, one of the boss fights we did, it was just one enemy, but like that's all I did was just hit a couple times and dodge because I knew he was going to attack every time and do the same thing, dodge, do the same thing, dodge. I'm like, what do they think I'm looking for in a boss fight? Just to get past it and feel like I won? No, I want to enjoy the fight.
Yeah,
I want to like have fun here. I'm not. So,
and though it looks like they developed landscapes and stuff like that, and I think they look pretty good.
Yeah.
They're blatantly hallways though.
Yeah.
And tons of games are hallways and it's fine, but it like feels like a hallway. So
yeah, the environments I think look pretty good. I like the setting, I think is really neat, but like they're like, I'm not looking for an open world game. It's just like really
definitely not.
like it's almost a fucking
rail shooter.
Yeah. It almost feels like a rail shooter, except for I get to walk forward. Like it's very fucking basic. Also, small nitpick, but this drove me fucking insane. There's parts to progress in your hallway. You got to jump over little hurdles. There's constantly little hurdles you got to jump over. I almost feel like it's a loading point or something, because they're all over the fucking place. It's just like you're walking down a hallway and there's a big open room, but you got to hop over the thing. Once you hop over the thing, you can't hop back over it. And so, like, maybe there was a way you could go left back there, but you don't know if that's the way you got to go or this is the way you got to go. So you go down here just enough, you jump over a thing, now you can't jump back. You're like, oh, fuck, I went the way I had to go. And there's, of course, because the game's very linear, of course, if you can go left, there was something down there to grab, and now I can't do it unless I want to reload the fucking whole map or mission.
Yeah.
So really, really bad level design in that regard. That pissed me off.
Yeah. So I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my personal gripes aside, I just reiterate, I do think the game it's a functioning game. It plays fairly well, and I think it's fine in that regard. I just personally can't find enjoyment in it. So
yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I felt too. So there's just things about I think under better direction could have been cool. But yeah, I really like. I finally got to a point where we're playing where I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I wasn't even like I'll come back later and play more. I'm like, no, I'm done with this game. I'm good. We got footage. We played enough to talk about it, so that I'm done with it. So yeah. Anything else?
no.
Recommendations. I would recommend it to people who like, if you're able to tolerate like B-rated mid shooters, third-person shooters. If you like games that are definitely influenced by like God of War and its combat, I would recommend it. If you're able to tolerate games like, I mean, Godfall's a way better game than this game, and that's saying something. But if you like games like that, I would recommend it. If you like cooperative shooters, I would recommend it. Although you're not going to have the best time ever, I don't think you'll be completely bored. If you like cowboy stuff, and Blizzard,
splash of Supernatural,
and Blizzard armor design, because the guy's fucking outfit's gigantic. I don't understand. Yeah, with the Supernatural, if you like vampire stuff, you might dig it. It's definitely got a dark, macabre vibe to it, which I appreciate in games. I like dark stuff, so it's just not enough to make me keep playing this. Maybe like the story. If you're into the, kind of what we alluded to when it comes to the story, you might play for that. Although I warn you, I don't think the story is told very well. And if you like games with slight exploration, because you can find like chests and stuff that are hidden, but it's only because you chose to go that hallway. It's not going to be like really hidden. So, but yeah, and that it's kind of a hard recommendation. Do you have anything?
I think that. I mean, it is a 2-player co-op game. And if you're looking for something to play with a friend, I do honestly believe our issues were local issues and not game issues. So
Yeah, possibly.
I'm just gonna say, yeah, if you look for a co-op game, you can play the game co-op. So
Yeah. Anything else?
nope.
Okay. I think I did my impressions first, so you grade it.
Outside of my personal opinion on the game, I do think the game is mostly fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B. I think it is a fine game. On a personal level, I'd probably give it like a C minus, a D plus, but I don't think that's fair because I don't think the game's broken. So I'll go ahead and give it a B.
Yeah, you went way higher than me. I'm going to give it a C, just because I think it just barely passes. It's a functioning game. It plays fine, but a lot of honestly, it's not even the technical aspect of the game. It's the decisions made on how they designed the game that I have the biggest issues with. That was somebody's idea to make combat like that, bosses like that, make the world designed like that, make hallways to run down. These are all things people decided to do. This isn't that they didn't know how to make a game. The game functions just fine. I think that the combat is probably the best thing about the game. But it's just, for me, not very fun. But it's also not broken. There's nothing wrong with it, so I can't go too hard on it. I wasn't completely bored, but I did feel exhausted when I stopped playing it. So I have to give it a C. I don't want to give it a C minus because that sounds a little too negative. I can't give it a C plus because I don't think it really excelled in anything. So yeah, I think just a flat passing C is fine for it. But I really would love to give it like a B or something. But like I said in the beginning, they need to make a sequel and improve on it because there's something there that they could definitely make into something really cool, but they didn't nail it with this. So, in my opinion, of course. So yeah, anything else?
Nope.
All right. So B and a C. Play at your own discretion. Yeah. Last game we played this month was Plague Tale Requiem, which is the sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, in which.
So spoiler warnings.
Oh, I'm not going to talk spoilers.
Even talking about the beginning of the game, like spoiler warnings to the previous game.
If you've seen the cover of the game, the advertisements or the trailers, you know that Amicia and Hugo are in this. So anyway, this is a continuation from the last game, A Plague Tale, which has to do with Hugo having some issues and lots of rats. It's the continuation of the story of Amicia and Hugo, basically living in a world of, peril and trying to figure out things in their life. I'm keeping it super vague because the game is pretty new still, and I do think it's a story you should play for the story. So I just on a personal level don't want to ruin it for you. It is a third-person, lightly action, mostly stealth game, where you play as Amicia, and sometimes you have people with you, where you figure out puzzles. You have to sneak or dispatch in clever ways enemies who are trying to kill you. And it has a very, very, very interesting rat system. I'm hoping, since the last game, you've at least heard or seen something on the rats because it's a huge aspect of the game. But you use rats in situations with lighting fires and taking fires out to move, almost like water, rats that will kill enemies and kill you if you don't play correctly. It kind of feels like, The Last of Us almost, only with rats. You have a slingshot. You have pots you can throw for sound or to damage people or put fires out. I already said slingshot. You can throw rocks, stuff like that. Just get creative in the way that you stealth around or take people out who are stronger than you. The game has a really big emphasis, which I kind of appreciate, on Amicia not being the strongest person in the world, but crafty in the way that clever in the way that she takes people out who she knows are stronger than her. So it's pretty neat. And yeah, I think I pretty much, that's about as much as I want to explain about the game. And yeah, we both played it. Let's jump into your impressions of Plague Tale Requiem.
Okay. So I should just say me, but played the original game a little bit.
We did that.
I did not beat it.
We did that. Yep.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I watched a recap of the story of the game because I'm not going to replay it. It's just not going to happen.
Can I just add something because I want to reiterate this later? I also watched a recap because I never finished the first game, even though when we originally played the first game, I think it was via PlayStation Plus. We both played it. I think we both appreciated it. The thing that we both said, I believe, is that the game, the world, the characters, and the story was really good, but the gameplay was not great. It wasn't bad, but it was very simple. Yeah. So it was hard for us to want to continue playing the game, but we wanted the story, basically. And so the onus is on this game to improve the gameplay, which we'll talk about. But in a way, I didn't feel as bad going back. I typically don't watch videos on game stories because I want to play them. But this game is unique because it's one of those like mid-tier developed games where like the gameplay wasn't perfect, but it had a really intriguing story and really good performances and stuff. So I did the same thing. I watched a recap because I was like, I can't play this game if I don't know what happened in the first game. Yeah. I don't have time nor the want to play through that first game, but I do want to know what happened. So I did the same thing. I wanted to add that context.
So I'm not going to talk about story, but I will say that just from first impressions, the game is very nice looking.
It's fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, it has a really good art direction.
Yeah. I love looking at this game.
I do too. The environments are very well done. I think the character models are really good. The animations are really good. And the voice acting is very good.
It's really good.
So I absolutely enjoyed all of that. I think the game also has good tension, which is nice. I won't get into it, but there are some chase scenes that you go through. There are puzzles that you have to solve and stuff like that.
There's also like
very well, I think.
Yeah, there's also like it's interesting because it's not really a survival horror game, but it kind of is with the rats. But like,
yeah, it's got elements.
But even people trying to kill you feels like a horror game almost because your character feels you have that like in Resident Evil you have like 3 bullets left. You're like, how do I get through the rest of the building before I find more ammo? Kind of feeling. In this, it's like this dude gets his hands on me, he's gonna kill me. So there's like and the characters represent that too. They're like, oh fuck, we gotta stay low. Like. That dude's a knight, he's gonna kill us. So like it has like this really interesting tension of like you aren't Billy Badass Joe Everyman fucking hero. You're just like a girl who's like trying to survive, which is really interesting. So yeah.
I think also the thing that man, how do I word this? The thing that's happening with your brother, I'll just say it that way, is actually interesting, which I like as well. And I think it's portrayed very well in the game.
It's super compelling.
Yeah.
But I remember playing the first game, and as soon as the game started, I had no idea about that game. I heard a couple good things about it. But I remember playing the first game, and as soon as it started, I was already interested in the characters, which is fucking a hard sell for me. I don't get interested in characters that quick. But then like just what happens right in the beginning, I'm like, what was up with that? And then as the stories start rolling out and the thing happens with like your dad or whatever, I was just like, whoa, this is kind of an interesting story. This game was the same, even though it's just a continuation of that. But like from the beginning, I was just like, I don't know who's writing for this game series, but they're really good at writing scenarios and story, but they're also good at writing characters because the characters are charming instantly. Already, like right from the beginning, I'm like, I don't want anything to happen to you guys, but
yeah, I like the character development and the world building for sure.
But the performances as well back up that writing. Like their dialogue's really good, but also the performances of and they all kind of have like a kind of a French accent to them, which I appreciate. They don't sound fully just like either American or British.
True.
Because everything European's either it's just gonna be British sounding.
Right. They just pick one of the default
Yeah.
accents.
Certain words they say sound almost French the way they're saying it. So I'm like, that's cool. I like that they're doing it because it's based in France. But yeah, super charming, compelling characters and great writing and world building.
Yeah, I really appreciate all that. I also the game operates in a chapter system, which is nice because there are some very clear moments where you can go, okay, I can put the game down for now, which is good.
And there's other parts where you're like, I can't stop playing right now because there's like a fucking wall of rats coming after me, so I got to keep moving.
The rats are terrifying, which they should be. And
it's a really cool mechanic.
Yeah. Though like water, I think is a good way of wording it.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of puzzles, but I do think the puzzles are just enough to tickle the brain, but not enough to like. So I don't feel like I'm sitting there like solving something crazy either. So
it doesn't stop the flow.
Yeah,
you got to figure it out, but you still have to also worry about the hazards in the area as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like an Uncharted or Tomb Raider where you walk in a big room and they're like, what does this all mean? And you got to sit there for like 5 minutes, figure it out until like the NPC goes, what's that thing over there?
Yeah.
And this, it's just like, they're talking and listen to the dialogue. They're like, I think maybe if we do these, and you're like, okay, and you go check it out. And there's all the things you've been doing already when it comes to like hazards and stuff like that. But, you got to figure out a couple things. And yeah, I think the flow is much better.
Yeah. And then the complaint, not the complaint, but the critique of the first game, I do think was improved in this game. I do think the game plays very well.
I was actually having fun.
Yeah, agreed. Because I remember playing the first one and like it was playable. Like I don't think it was unplayable, but I didn't find it enjoyable. I did actually find myself enjoying it, and I think the stealth is actually pretty good too, which is nice.
And there's like more options and more things you can do in your environments when it comes to the stealth. So like I was even like kind of running gunning a couple times because I could, but like in the first game, and I'm sure it gets like better and better as you play, but I played it for a little bit and constantly I felt like the gameplay was second to the story, which is really interesting, but it almost felt like a vessel to move the story forward. I'm like, well, just make a movie. I'll watch it. Like, this story's cool. I'll fucking watch this movie. But that's how I felt with the first game. The second game, I was kind of worried that we're going to have the same problem, but they did improve it in a lot of ways to the point where I was enjoying moving into these open areas where there's like rats everywhere. There's patrols walking around with torches and stuff like that. And there's like a window over here I can hop out, but I can also choose to go over there if I throw like, flaming fucking whatever the hell it is onto a torch and light that to be able to go that way. Like there's actually things I had to think about that didn't feel as like linear as like the stealth in the first game.
Yeah. Though it does feel heavily inspired by The Last of Us in its playstyle at this point, because you have your weapon.
You have a shiv.
Yeah, you have the single-use shiv, and then you have in this game alchemy, but in Last of Us, basically crafting. Engineering. Yeah.
Which is fine. I love The Last of Us. So.
Yeah, I don't have a complaint about it, but like it definitely felt very inspired.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially when you start making you take the pots, which you can use as a noise thing, aka a bottle to throw or a brick or whatever. But you could throw chemicals in it, and now you have a Molotov basically. So,
and then later you get I forgot what it's called, Peter salt or whatever, and you can put fire out with it. So like, there's a lot of function to it. But it is basically the bottle from Last of Us, and the knights walking around with the helmets are basically like clickers. Like as soon as they see you, they come after you. There's an interesting tension though, because they're talking to you while they're walking at you and shit. So like you're like
not monsters.
Yeah, and you don't have a gun, so you're like, am I gonna hit him with the fucking thing, or am I gonna run this way? Like it feels slightly different, but it definitely is heavily inspired by it. But it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the gameplay is fun, so I liked it.
And then I don't think I can say a whole lot more without talking about like actual specifics. I will say there is a moment where you are presented an area in which you're walking around, and then you take a break from it, and then you go back to that area, and then that expands into a huge area, which I did not expect to be that big.
Me neither. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you're talking about the other part of the city.
Yeah. And that was impressive, to be honest. I was like,
The
how'd
whole
you hide that?
the whole game, I
Yeah.
constantly was like, this is impressive. This is
Yeah.
impressive. This is impressive. Because I know it's not like a huge dev team. So like, yeah, I mean, even in the beginning, there's a part where you're like in a field with fire. I'll just put it that way. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. And there's another part where you're in a wagon and in the background, it's like these crispy fucking mountains and this sprawling field with flowing grass. And you can see the cloud shadows moving across the field. I'm like, this is fucking beautiful looking.
Yeah.
Like someone does like the design choices in Evil West were not good. The design choices in this were immaculate. Like someone was like, let's make this
Still
fucking
a hallway game, though.
sure,
Yeah.
but
Well, no, no.
not,
I'm just
not
saying.
as much, but
But the whole point is, like, I wasn't thinking about it because,
Yeah.
like, the environments didn't make it feel
sure,
like a hallway so
Yeah.
much, even though they technically are, right?
yeah.
So-
There's open parts though where you can move around stuff
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, but my point is the design choices. They didn't have to make the world look so gorgeous, but they did. And in a story that I'm already enjoying and characters I like, it just makes the whole experience even better. And yeah, when you go to a town or a little city or whatever, especially after other ones you've been to in both the last two games, or this game and the last game, comes off like really nice. It's actually kind of neat to explore it because it's like so well designed and there's NPCs everywhere. It's really neat. And then, yeah, you go to another part of the city you didn't even know existed and it's very different. And you're like, am I playing a Dark Souls game? What the fuck is this?
Honestly, the vibe completely changed.
It was eerie. Yeah, I really liked it. Especially when a certain character is like, hey, go get this other character. I was like, oh, he's probably just down the street because you go and talk to this
Right.
one person. He's like, oh, he doesn't like to be bothered like me, but you know, he's down that way. I'm like, oh, okay, we're just gonna go talk to him. It's gonna be cinematic. But then you enter this place. I'm like, where the fuck does he live?
Right.
How big is this town? So yeah, it's
And then you find out what's kind of like happening
Yeah.
too, and the behind the scenes here, even outside of like the big problem. Like, so there's a lot of layers too, which was really cool. So, yeah, really good first impression. Now, for transparency's sake, I only did the first two chapters because I put it off too long and I ran out of time. So,
Yeah.
I will not be giving a review as much as just an
Impressions.
impression of
Yep.
the game. So,
Yep. Like all our reviews, unless we specify we beat it, it's
pretty much impression.
it's a review of our impressions of that month. So how it impacted us from the time that we played it. We try to be transparent about it. I am playing through chapter 4 right now, so I'm not very far in the game, but already I'm very impressed with everything I've experienced. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so. I like have zero complaints. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so far I am really liking it. It's a game that I do want to beat because I don't have the complaint I had of the first game. I do like the gameplay and the story is great so far. It's really good. It's not like a passable story. I want to know where it goes. I also really like the characters, which I've already said, but that's really hard for me because a lot of games, I think characters are just characters. There's nothing special about them. But I really like the way that they're written and the way their performances are. Makes me care about them. Makes me want them to not die from a pool of rats eating them alive, or other ways. Yeah, gameplay's been improved. I'm just really impressed with the graphics. It's a really gorgeous game, and the design on top of the technical graphics makes it just even better. I was like walking through that town, just looking at all the little details. I'm like, how often am I going to be walking through here? Because there's no way you guys designed all this for fucking just one time walking through. Then you come back later and it's like pouring down rain. It's dark out. I'm like, oh, dude, this is fucking cool. It's like the whole environment has changed. Yeah, gameplay is good. I already said that. It's just so much more improved. It's actually fun to play, which is such a huge thing for me. And yeah, I can't really talk about the story, but it's portrayed well. There's some pretty bizarre things that happen already in the beginning that I thought was really good, kind of mystery building, tension building. That I was like, whoa, this is fucking wild. Like, what is even going on here? Also, the first game had this, but a really interesting tutorial in the beginning. It's super interactive and like
it was a very good tutorial, actually. It's
yeah, especially the stealth part I thought was kind of interesting. So
Yeah.
like playing like hide and go seek, and
it's
I'm
fun.
like, this is kind of a clever way, especially because it's like we should sneak up on him and scare him or whatever. I'm like, oh, so it's teaching how to sneak up on people,
Yeah.
but obviously in a more playful way. So I thought that was super clever. And yeah, I don't know if I can keep just praising this game. It's everything about it I really like. So I definitely want to play through this and beat it. And having heard so many good things about it, I think it came out last year.
Okay.
I think it came out last year. I don't remember.
Well, I mean, it's
but anyway,
January or February now.
the first game was really praised, and I understand that praise, even though I think the gameplay is not as good as it should be. But this game, I think the praise definitely matches what I've been playing. So I would like to beat this and play through it all the way because I'm really liking it. I'm glad to see that it's just gotten to a better place because the first game deserved that. So yeah, really like it. Anything else? Mm-mm. All right, recommendations. If you like cinematic games, I would recommend it.
yeah.
If you like dark horror themed games, I would recommend it, even though it doesn't really look like that. It does have some pretty dark stuff to it. It's a very mature game too. If you like mature games with like mature themes, I would recommend it. If you like The Last of Us, I would recommend it. It does definitely take after a lot of the gameplay of The Last of Us. I know there's some people out there who think The Last of Us is not a fun game to play. I don't agree with you. But if you're one of those people, you probably won't like this game. But if you do like the gameplay of The Last of Us, I think you'll like it. If you, I already said cinematic, but kind of akin to that. If you like story heavy games, it's a very story heavy game, and it's got a good story, and it's got good performances, good characters. So definitely recommend you this game.
If you like the era it's in.
Yeah. If you're like me and you like historical settings and French stuff, I like French stuff. So you will definitely enjoy this because I've really enjoyed that myself. If you like stealth games, I would recommend it. It's a stealth game.
It's definitely something.
Also with clever light mechanics that the rats are affected by. So it's got something to offer you that other stealth games don't have that I can think of. So it's definitely kind of has a unique feel to it. Got anything you want to add to that?
Minor puzzle solving.
Yep.
So
if you're, like The Last was kind of, but like Uncharted or something like that. If you like games like that where there are puzzles to figure out, it definitely has that so far from what we've played. So yeah.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's a pretty specific game, I'd say.
Yeah.
So.
You did your impressions first?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I knew my grade as soon as I started playing it. It hasn't changed, and it could go up, but I'm going high anyway. I'm going to give this an A. It's really good so far, and for every reason we've already went over. So high quality graphics, high quality design, great story, great performances, really good music. Just everything about it is really good. It's borderline like a AAA game, but it's even more impressive because it's not a fully AAA game. So
the best games lately, apparently.
Yeah, for sure. AAA has gotten too comfy. So yeah, I easily could give this an A, and if I beat it and I'm impacted by the story, that will easily go to an A+. So, yep.
I was also left with a very strong first impression of the game, and with zero complaints, would have to give it an A. So
yep, I got no complaints.
So yeah, I'm happy to say that because the one complaint I had, they fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was great. So,
yeah, which was a pretty big problem.
Well, and you make a sequel. They obviously the idea is to improve upon the game prior. So
yeah, and it seems like they addressed the thing I was, held back by. So
yeah.
All right, yeah, that is 2 A's for oh my god, Plague Tale Requiem. I almost said Requiem, Plague Tale. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about the game. Have you beaten the game? Does it only get better? Encourage us to keep playing it. I will likely keep playing it anyway. But if you are somebody who's played it and you're like, dude, you guys haven't even gotten that far, let me know why we should keep playing because I'm really enjoying it. And if you haven't played it, why haven't you played it? If you are playing it currently, are you enjoying it? What are some of your favorite elements about it? Do you have any criticisms of it? Anything you dislike about it? Let me know without spoilers, please, because I am actively wanting to play this. And yeah, let us know everything you think about when it comes to all the games that we played in January. Look forward to the games in February and look forward to Game of the Month, which is coming out soon, where we will be talking about my pick, which was Baldur's Gate 3. But yeah, as always, thank you for watching, guys. Thank you, Chevy, for joining me for this conversation. And I've been Seth. Until the next episode, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.